At WWDC, Apple announced a new iOS application known as Apple Configurator. This application lets you enroll macOS devices into Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager via the application. And now, with the release of macOS Monterey, we can see this in action. This feature has been present in iOS for some time now, and has been a staple of some organizations' workflows to get devices into Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager. Now, those devices that weren't procured via an authorized reseller can be added to your Apple School or Apple Business Manager account and go through automated device enrollment. Before we take a look at Apple Configurator for iOS, we must first check off the requirements to use Apple Configurator for iOS and to enroll a macOS device into Apple School or Apple Business Manager using Apple Configurator for iOS. Firstly, let's start with the iOS device. The iOS device is going to be required to run iOS 15 or later. It needs to have a camera, and you need to have Apple Configurator for iOS installed on the device. You can find that in the iOS App Store. Moving over to the macOS device, it is going to need to be running macOS Monterey. The device needs to be at the Setup Assistant, and this process is only going to work on Apple Silicon devices, that being M1, M1 Pro, and M1 Max, as well as a T2 chip device if you are looking to enroll an Intel device. Finally, you are required to have a managed Apple ID that is associated with your Apple School or Apple Business Manager account. This managed Apple ID will need to have the role of device manager or higher. Now that we've got all the requirements out of the way, let's take a look at Apple Configurator for iOS on the iOS device. So here you can see I have a configurator installed on my iOS device. I'm going to go ahead and launch that. Upon your first launch of the application, you are required to sign into your managed Apple ID. Remember, this managed Apple ID account must have the role privileges of Device Enrollment Manager or greater. Once you've successfully entered in the email address and your password, you'll be then prompted for a second form of authentication. Please proceed with entering that second form of authentication. Once you've successfully signed into your managed Apple ID account, upon first launch of the application, you'll be prompted to allow the application access to your camera. You are now ready to use the configurator application for iOS. First thing we're going to take a look at is the system preference icon down in the bottom left. I'm just going to select that now. What you can see here is the organization that the managed Apple ID belongs to, as well as how you are going to share a network connection with your macOS device. There are two ways that the configurator application can share network connection with the macOS device. One being sharing the network connection that the iOS device is connected to, or the ability to share a configuration profile that has the Wi-Fi details already configured in it. That would need to be uploaded to iCloud Drive, and then you would then need to sign into that iCloud Drive. For the purposes of this demo, we're just going to be looking at the share connection option. Now finally, in the bottom right hand side is the menu bar icon. We're just going to select that. What you can see in this area is all the devices that have been assigned to the Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager instance with that managed Apple ID account. Now, once you've signed into the iOS device with your managed Apple ID and you have your macOS device on macOS Monterey at the Setup Assistant, it is now time to begin the workflow of enrolling a device into Apple School Manager and Apple Business Manager using Apple Configurator for iOS. I can't believe how simple and easy Apple made this whole process. All you are required to do is bring your iPhone close enough to the Mac device for it to detect it, and then your Mac device will show a blue floating orb. You scan that with your QR code, then Apple Configurator for iOS and the Mac does everything else for you. Once it's successfully completed, you are prompted to restart and shut down. Let's take a look at this process with an iOS and a macOS device side by side. Once you have your macOS device at the Setup Assistant, proceed until you are at the Select Your Country and Region screen. Once you are here, open up the Configurator app on your iOS device and bring that iOS device close to the macOS device. Once the Mac has recognized that the iOS device has Configurator open and is close enough for use, you will then be presented with this screen here, where you can assign your Mac to your organization. It will have a blue floating orb. You can simply bring your camera up to the Mac screen and scan the blue floating orb, similarly to a QR code. However, you can also select Pair manually down in the left-hand corner. If you select Pair manually in the left-hand corner, you'll be presented with a 6-digit code. On the iOS device, select Pair manually and you'll be able to enter in the 6-digit code. You can revert back to pairing with the camera by selecting Pair using Camera in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I am now going to bring the iOS device up to the screen of the macOS device and scan the blue floating orb. Once that's then scanned, you'll see this next screen here which says assigning the Mac. In the lower left hand corner of this screen, you'll see that it's connecting to my network. Once it's established a successful connection with the network, up in the top right hand corner you can see that the device is connected to the Wi-Fi and the Mac is being assigned. Moving forward, once the device has successfully been assigned to your Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager account, you are presented with the options to shut down and restart. And on the left, what you can see here is the device status with a green check mark next to it, indicating a successful assignment to your organization. My advice from here would be to shut down the macOS device, sign into your Apple School Manager or your Apple Business Manager account, and assign that macOS device to the relevant MDM solution. And that's it. Your Mac device has now been enrolled into your Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager account. Once selecting on the device, you can see underneath the name it says Apple Configurator 2 and the source of its enrollment being Apple Configurator. From here, edit the device management and assign the machine to your MDM solution of choice. Once you have allowed enough time for your Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager to sync with your MDM solution of choice, you can then power the Mac back on and go through the same setup assistance as you normally would with an automated device enrollment workflow, and the Mac is enrolled into your MDM solution. Just like enrolling an iOS device into Apple Business or School Manager via Apple Configurator, the macOS devices will have a 30-day cooling off period. What I mean by this is end users have the ability to opt out of device management within 30 days, even if you've marked the MDM profile as non-removable in your pre-stage enrollment configuration. If you're in an environment where you may have some savvy users who may want to opt out of device management, or you are in an educational institution where you have kids who like to circumvent the rules, you may want to plan ahead, if at all possible, to do this process 30 days before handing out the machine. Let's jump over to the macOS device again and take a look at what this looks like for the end user. As you can now see, I'm back on the Mac device that I've enrolled into my Apple Business Manager via Apple Configurator for iPhone. I have gone through the Setup Assistant and the automated device enrollment workflow, and I'm ready to use my device. It's worth noting, like the iOS counterpart, when enrolling into Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager via Apple Configurator, the users have a 30-day opt-out period. You can see here that I have the ability to remove the MDM profile. After the 30-day cooling off period, you will be no longer allowed to remove the MDM profile from system preferences. And that's Apple Configurator for iOS. That's everything I believe you should know as a Mac admin who wants to leverage Apple Configurator for iOS to enroll macOS devices into Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or reach out to us via our website, maccenter.com.au. Thank you.